Hey, what's up? We should be live. So something super strange happened. Let me see if I actually can hear myself and if things work. Um, yeah, okay, it looks good. Okay, good. So I don't know what just happened, but YouTube was like, live streaming is not available. So I have no idea what that means. But just let me know that you can kind of see me well and hear me well. I never seen that message before. And then on the live stream screen, it says that YouTube is not receiving enough video from the streaming software, and I'm like, I don't know, it's green. I see it works well. So thank you, Hank, for letting me know. Hey, John or Jan, hello, Liron. Looking forward for today's live stream. Good to see and hear you. Thank you so much. So it's gonna be today a fun one. We're actually gonna paint. Let me give you a quick view of my desk, and we'll get started. This is my desk. We're gonna paint this nice scene from New York. Now, some of you may recognize this. Because, and here is the original reference photo. I took this picture in New York on our vacation. Hey Hazel, how are you doing? As usual, everyone let me know where you're from, what time it is maybe. So yeah, here's our colorful reference. Took this picture in New York, and I actually painted this one, I think, over a year ago, probably. Pretty huge, so I wanted to create a huge watercolor. And I had to nail this to a wall in order to paint it because it was just such a huge piece of paper. Let me tell you, it was very challenging. Now I'm going to move aside because I want you to see. And hey, Emily, how are you doing? Hey, Henny. Will the lives ever move to the weekend? So sad to miss them midweek. Yeah, I do consider doing that actually. I will maybe make some changes to schedule. Just because of the different schedule generally of doing 2 videos instead of 3, I may do that. Yes, I'll have that in mind. You know, I need to open up my notepad. I have a live stream notepad for writing every little note I get. But in any case, so let me open it up. Well, I'll open it up for a second. It's been a long time since I wrote there, so I have to scroll a bit back. Let's see here. Why can't I find it? So basically, yeah, I painted this one over a year ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm going to show you the stages in just 1 second because it was really a fun process. Let me see if I can find it. There we go. So here are some of the stages. Now, look at the top right corner. Because it was such a huge painting, it was really hard to get an even wash. But this is kind of a proof that you don't have to. It's so funny to see that. If you look at the top right corner, you'd never think you can make something out of it. But it actually turned out quite the nice painting. Now, so let me show it to you once again here and big. Very happy with how it turned out. And today we're gonna paint it small. So we're going to switch over to the top camera and I'll show you, and we can toggle between the two. Now I want to show you something cool here. As you know, I started using a bit of hot press paper, just experimenting, and this is one of those experiments that I kind of wanted to see how it would work in terms of the paper's texture, and hot press paper is something I'm still getting used to. Turns out it's not as easy and it's not the same as cold press, which is, by the way, what we're going to do here. It's just a little different. It's not necessarily harder, but I have a sneeze coming. Yeah, sorry about that. It's not necessarily harder, it's just really different. And so I wanted to do that. It does allow for this smooth kind of, you see, no texture on the paper, which is nice. And I also did a boat painting, if you've seen on Instagram. I don't have it handy, I'll show you maybe later on. But today, we're going to paint it on cold press paper. Now, let's go quickly over kind of an analysis of the scene, and then I'm going to read some comments and we'll continue. But I will just say, hey John, hey Jan again, from Bergen, Norway, which is partly cloudy, cool. Hey Emily, how are you doing? From Massachusetts. Hey Patricia. Hey Annie, hey Denise, hey Nancy, Maureen, Luis, how are you? Patricia again. And frickin' morons, my friend, how are you doing? Okay, so we'll analyze the scene for a bit, and I can point here in addition to the reference photo. So basically what we got is a few very simple shapes, which is why I love these kinds of scenes. So this entire thing here at the back is really just one big shape. I got a lot of unevenness due to, again, my lack of experience with hot press paper, but you can still tell it's quite a simple shape. And some of the nice things about it to consider are it goes from light to dark, and then you can create this beautiful sense of depth by contrasting it with some, you know, figures up front that are a little darker in this street lamp. So these are kind of the things. Now we have the cars, which are another element a little closer, which is nice too. We have this dude that I think is a really nice thing to include, and then some highlights on the road of just, you know, different markings and so on. But in addition to that, I want to divert your attention to the sky and the ground. They're not white because this is lighter. These markings are lighter than the actual thing here. So we do have this overarching wash that we can do from top to bottom, and this is exactly what I did here. I started with a bit of a wet kind of wash, just mostly water, and then I slowly, as I moved outward, radiated from this corner down here and all the way to the bottom. I started feeding it with more and more and more paint, all the way down here, which is the darkest but still quite light because you want contrast with the other darks. So what we will have here is the same kind of a thing, a wash that goes from this corner all the way down, and it starts light because the sun is there, and then it gradually gets darker all the way to a very light still value. So that's how we're going to tackle the first wash. I'm going to open because I completely forgot. You know what? I don't know if I even need the reference photo in big. I'm just going to keep it like that. Now, one of my brushes that I like to do these things are either the large goat or the Escoda Ultimo, which is a very, very nice brush too. So I'm going to get started. Only color I'm using is neutral tint. Just such a great color for these kinds of things. And you could do wet and wet. You could pre-wet the paper. This is such a simple wash, honestly. I don't need to. So I'm just going to go ahead and do this kind of wet on dry, so to speak. So this is our lit side. And because this is cold press paper and I'm used to it, it's going to be much, much easier because the hot press paper, again, I'm still learning how to actually control what's happening, and it's really, really tough. So we're going to radiate out from that corner, and as we move along, we're going to just add a bit more paint. There's a bit of leftover blue and I'm not going to worry too much about highlights. I'm actually going to cover everything except for the markings on the road. Reason being, I'd much rather focus on having a good wash. And then I can add these markings on later. Once the paper dries, we're going to use plenty of opaque paint to get that. We're going to use Designer's Wash, which John sent me. Thank you so much. By the way, John, I'm happy to have you here. I just got the package. Thank you so much. I just now received it. No, I am going to lighten up these people, and I was going to message you. It was like literally 5 minutes before the live stream began. I was going to message you. Let's see how wet this is. Okay, so this is still wet, so I'd like to help it spread out a bit more even. We'll do this kind of a thing. We're going to flip it around, move it around just a bit to help maybe, and maybe I can just go back like this and kind of help it change a bit of directions. I'm putting a bit of cleaner water on the figures just to make sure I don't go too dark there. That's something I'll do sometimes. And then it is back to the rest of the scene. Now I know it looks quite strong, don't worry. This is still gonna dry quite light. The one thing I am concerned with is those very small, I guess, highlights on the road. So wherever I see those, I will make sure to leave them. That's one here, and then we have another one here. And you see this brush does allow some nice control if needed, even though it's quite a big brush. And that's pretty much it. First wash. I'm gonna let it dry. One thing you can do is darken the foreground, because when I look at it, it is a little stronger. You want to make sure it doesn't stay super duper light actually. So we're gonna do this without overworking hopefully anything. And I'll think about it. Maybe I'll go one more touch. Like that. something like this should work quite well. And then we're gonna let it dry for a few seconds naturally without touching it. So let's see what you are saying. One more thing I would do actually, it's a good thing, here as well. Just a bit so that it doesn't feel like this white area divides it into two, because it doesn't. This is still, still a little, it just gets a little darker the closer it is to us, just a little. It's a small difference. And then I'm gonna use, I forgot to change my paper towel actually, I was gonna switch it. But in any case, yeah, first wash, pretty simple, start light, go a little darker, keep the form, move till the paper if you need to control it a bit better, and that's it. And this area, again, I put just a bunch of water, helps us to not go too dark on the highlights on these people, so that maybe we won't have to add opaque paint there, maybe. Maybe we will, that's fine too. But yeah, in any case, let me see what you're saying in the chat. I'm gonna go back a bit and see, I saw a few questions. It's gonna be one of those live streams, right, where I take my time, so it's not gonna be a Reader's Digest or anything like that. Let's see here. Denise, hey, great to be here, going to New York for Mother's Day. Thanks, love to watch Learning Much. Awesome, thank you so much. Nancy G, good morning to you too. Maureen, hey again. Yeah, Patricia asked what size paper. So this is a 10 by 7 inches, and it is that 7? Oh, sorry, 10 by 7.5. Oh, sorry, 11. I can't count. 11 by 7.5 inches, and that's Arch paper. Is this your new time for streaming, Frickin' Morns? Not really. It's kind of the same as it's been, right? For 9 a.m. Eastern time. That's what I usually do. Maybe there's like daylight saving or something that causes confusion. I'm not sure actually, but yeah, this is the normal time. And by the way, I wanted to say thank you everyone for the awesome comments and feedback on that video I did on changing the schedule and all of that. That was really nice. I'm gonna open up the window. It's a little hot. Everyone's bumped the table. Everyone's been super nice, and I really appreciate it. It's been something I was planning and thinking of doing for a long time. So, yep. Now, White Reza, hello, Liron. Just finished the sketch. Well, can guess this is gonna be a tough one. Yeah, it's actually a simple one. Don Lee from Kuala Lumpur, hello. Laura from Northern California. John, thank you so much. Yeah, this composition, that's how I took the picture. I didn't change too much because I like it too. Let me see if I can do this. I'll move myself here, because there's not really too much dabbing in this video in general. And then we're gonna move the reference here and make it a little larger. There we go, a little better. Luis says, I'm watching this while writing tons of essays. At the Philippines, it's about 9 p.m. And I'm going to stay up to knock down some tasks. Oh, that's good. It's good to have some company in the lonely and quiet office. Yeah, can you actually write essays while watching? That's incredible if you can. I can't. I can only draw and paint while listening. I can't do any writing. Hans says, highly run tuning in from the Philippines as well. Oh, that's super cool. And Nancy asks, what's the Skoda brush size? This is a 16. I actually think for many beginners, 14 would be better than this, but here you can see it's Skoda Ultimo Sintetico. This could be a little too big. I like it for the potential of going double this size. But yeah. Good evening, Thanga. How are you doing? John, yeah, I'm super great. Look, the delivery guy, I was expecting like a box. The delivery guy came over and it's like a huge thing, so thank you. I wasn't expecting that. That's so incredible. Isabella, hello from Poland. Krozem, hey bro, I'm the guy with 2 paintings you put a heart. Oh man, thank you so much. Okay, so listen, you sent me a message. I'm so happy you reached out. Was it the one with the arches? You sent me one with arches. So here's the thing. One of them wasn't loading. This is gonna be funny as heck. So just a view into my world. One of them wasn't loading. So I put the heart and I exited the message, and I went and I wanted to go back and reload the one that didn't load. And here's what Instagram does. As soon as you like or reply, it goes away from the message requests. Once you send me a request, as long as I do anything with it, interact with it, heart, whatever, it goes from the requests onto just the messages. But here's the problem. if you don't reply with text, you just heart a message, where does the message go? Nowhere. I have no idea where it is. I really don't. It's somewhere in the inbox, but it's maybe in the bottom. And the bottom means I have to scroll for days because there's thousands of messages. They're not exaggerating. So here's what you do. Just send me another message and it will jump to the top. It is so frustrating. It happened to me once and I should have remembered that's how it works if you just heart it. Because usually I don't exit the message. Sometimes I'll even see your messages. If you send me a message, I'll see it and I won't respond or not touch it because then it goes into the inbox and I won't find it. So if I want to give a proper answer, I'll just exit it and maybe a few days later we'll answer. I hope that's you with one of them with the arches. I wanted to tell you it didn't get enough contrast and enough big clear shapes. The colors were on point, kind of yellowy ochre. But yeah, I'm so happy you reached out. So I saw your username was Crow something there. Just Crow like a crow, not with a K, with a C. And I could not for the life of me find you. So sorry about that. Send me another one. It will float to the top. And I even considered doing a story, asking whoever sent it to me to resend it. But I was like, what are the chances you're going to see it? Because and it may sound strange, but my stories get about 600 to 1,000 views. I have 50-something thousand followers. Most likely you won't see it because most of the followers don't. But in any case, yeah, send another message and I promise I'll give you more of a voice message kind of a thing. In fact, if you do it now, I can do it while we're going live. So yeah, sorry about that. Merari Ramos, hello from El Salvador. Monique Bazar, love to see you watercolor paint. Is your paper lying flat or at an angle? It's actually at an angle. The entire desk is at like a 5-degree angle and then it's at another 10, so about 15 on the board. The board is at an angle too. Yeah, the streams where you make a painting and explain the process are my favorites. This is a perfect time for me at least. Awesome, thank you. Keegan, long-time lurker, but hello from London. Awesome, thank you for being here. Finally, we accept all the lurkers here. So now something interesting happened. See, this is really puffed out. That's a common thing, right? It's not only does it turn wavy, it also can puff out. So what I'm gonna do is just use a hairdryer and it will flatten it immediately. So give me 1 second, I'm gonna mute you and we'll do this. You know, it's funny how everything you do has an effect. So when I came back with water, you can actually see it going here. Same goes for these two people. I put water and it kind of spread out. So everything you do wet and wet has an influence on the end result, funny enough. But these buildings, we're going to paint them a layer over, so that's fine. Now, I want to show you something. Look at how clearly there is some advantage to using hot press paper because you don't get a texture. So you can get a bit more granular with the accuracy. And one more thing is that you can just get more accuracy with the tip of the brush. It's not interrupted as much by the paper's texture, so that's a good thing. But in any case, we're going to switch over now to the buildings, and I'm going to start from right to left actually, and maybe we'll do this. I don't like to rotate the paper too much. I don't like to disorient you, but we will do it this time. So we'll rotate it like this because I'm going to work from right to left and I just want to make sure some flow is maintained. Switching to my large goat brush by Levinson brushes, and we'll start right to left because I want to start actually right to left and top to bottom, so kind of at an angle, because I want to get started with those light buildings. And look at how, again, the buildings on the right are indeed lighter. Now I'm going to try and paint this entire wash in one go. I'm going to need a lot more water than this. So yeah, I'm going to paint this entire thing in one go, hopefully, and take care of some of the nuances in one go. We'll see where that takes us. And I'm going to try and focus a lot, so maybe I'll shut up for a while I do the lines. So we're starting right to left, and I want when you're doing this to almost feel like the paint is almost too pale. If it looks too pale, you're actually in a good spot because you can always come back with some more pigment like this and kind of make it a little stronger. Okay, so we'll work our way through those buildings, and one thing to have in mind is don't obsess over the shapes. Very common theme among many people is to obsess over the edges of the shape and to think they look terrible or they're not as accurate as they could be. But if you, again, retouch it, kind of like the video we did on overwork, you're gonna mess it up, and you don't want that. You're just gonna get an uneven transition. A lot of bad things will happen. Sounds super dramatic. Not a lot of bad things will happen to you, but it's not going to be as even or nice as you want. Now here's something. I'm going to rotate it back now, I think. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to go over the edge of these buildings, and now I'm starting to strengthen it quite a bit, as you can tell. And I'm not concerned with this dark shape touching the lighter shape. In fact, that's preferable for me. That's actually better, because then I get some kind of a connection between the two, right? And then I have a bit of a tree here, so I think I'll actually put it this time wet and wet, and keep it fairly light and in the background. But we have a wash to continue, and I'm gonna be ruthless with how I go over everything here. I'm just gonna cover up the shapes. Now this top building is from the back. It's a little farther from us, so again I'm going a little lighter, just like here in my previous attempt, and we will continue. And I'm prioritizing a lot of the time here speed over accuracy. Like if I see a really nice highlight, I can decide to leave it like here, but really don't try too hard, because you may end up with an uneven wash, especially if you're not as experienced. And some experience is in seeing, so like I know where to paint because I see the shapes a little more accurately. Some of the experience comes from there, so if you're not used to seeing, interpreting quickly, that's another kind of a thing where you may want to, and let me darken this a little more. Using very thick paint here. There's another dark building here, like that. Goes down like this. Let's get some nuances here. I really like the top here being a little like that. We'll bring out some specific details later on. But now we have to take care of the bottom section and make sure that we paint around properly. There's an awning here. I'm going to keep that. And now it's pretty much too late to revisit anything that's up top, so we're not going to do any of that. It's so much easier for me to do this with hot press paper. I'm so used to it. I'm going to switch to a smaller brush. But it's so much easier for me to work like that because I'm so used to the way this paper handles, you know. And I'm keeping it as wet as I can while still getting the right value. That's kind of the tricky part where you have to compromise sometimes. There we go. And look at what we can do here. We can already connect what we see, if it works. I'm going to open up the reference photo. I need it. I need to see it. Big. Thought I could get away with small, but it's going to open. There we go. I just really need to see the shapes here. Okay, yeah, that's good. So that wraps around this car, and then we'll continue, as I said, with this street lamp, because why not get in fact, let's do this. Let me see how wet. Yeah, we can still do that. So look at what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go for it like that. I'm using very thick paint. That way I can get this down now and later just kind of help it. I'm not going to need to do too much. Now I am still keeping some flow. I don't want this just to be super stale. There we go, like this. There's a bit of a sidewalk here, like that. I know this is very frequently where people kind of lose the plot, so you have to be careful. and see that you're indeed painting the shape you need to paint. For example, I think I lost a window for the car here, but I'll bring it back. And then the bottom of the car, we'll get that. And let's finish this thing here. And here I can leave some kind of highlights in the corner, but it's not as important. And now while I'm here, I can actually connect it to the car. So let's see what we're doing here. I'm going to connect this to the darkest part on the car. The more we make these connections, the more we kind of save up on tasks that we'll have to do later on, honestly. But I'm going to go a little lighter on the side of the car, of course. It's not as dark. So something like that. And we'll get back the highlights later, so don't worry about those. And then let's get some more water near the bottom. Let's get some thick paint for the tires. And we'll try a bit of wet here as well, just darker. Let's go for everything here. Let's just complete the car. So I'm just gonna go back with a moist brush like that, and then get rid of some of these highlights in the middle. Something like this. And quickly, before the bottom dries, I have to continue this. There's nothing really fancy about painting this way. It's actually all about being careful. I really enjoy it, but sometimes it doesn't make for necessarily too interesting demos. So I know people say they enjoy these, so you know. We'll connect cast shadow right now. We're gonna just continue it, even though we have the bicycle and the guy there. We're just gonna kind of continue it here. Imagine it behind a bike, and we have this kind of a dark thing, and it just kind of casts here. And it should start from here, actually. That pretty much works. We can actually connect the shadow on the sidewalk here if we want to, but that's enough, I think. So there's this front light of the car. The windshield is quite light, but it's not white. So I'm just gonna, you know what, no. Should probably leave it like that because I did go darker on the front part where the hood is. There we go. I'm gonna leave it like that for just a few more moments and we'll see. Sometimes I'm trying to chew more, to bite more than I can chew. But yeah. Now on to the next car. This is actually one of my favorites from the big painting as well, just because it looks so darn cool. Especially the front. Like this. And then here. Okay, so I'm starting with a light wash. And I'm going to gradually go dark, but I just want to make sure I leave the correct highlights. And I'm going to take a break in a few moments and kind of address any questions. But for now, I have to keep it going. And then I really like doing this kind of a thing for the front detail. You see, and it reads really nicely. There is a bit of a thing here, like that. This should be even darker, I think. Shadow should continue all the way to the other car and kind of create a... There we go. Like this. There's another car there. Oops, move the camera. Sorry about that. And let me make sure you can see everything because I'm like... There we go. So yeah, the car at the back. I'm going to keep that one a little lighter than it actually is. So this goes here. And then this is the body of the car. I'm kind of guesstimating because now it's a bit hard to follow. And again, paint bigger if you want to see more of the small details. I love this small format. It's like a quick win, and honestly, it's not easy to paint big, so especially not during the live stream. So I'm just making my life a little easier. Bit of a shadow there. And then this actually connects to an interesting thing here where they do the scaffolding and construction, so that looks nice. And let's take a quick break and address any questions you may have in the chat or anything you're asking. But the key here, I think the key to success here really is getting that wash to be good looking. Now I did go a little darker here. That's not a problem. We can fix that if we need to. I don't know if we'll need to because I actually want this guy to be a little darker compared to the background this time. So we'll see. We'll see. Maybe we do this. Maybe we don't. Oh, and I actually missed something here. So I was right about the placement. This should be dark. There we go. That's how it's meant to be. Let's see. If I missed anything. John says, sorry, I had no idea of the package size. I'm just glad the lazy postman delivered it. Yeah, and you know, I made it a point to actually ask them to bring it up because sometimes, not to badmouth, but DHL, at least here, they're a little incompetent. They ask you to go down and pick it up. Now, I get it. The parking situation here is not the best, but come on, do your job. So yeah, so I'm happy that it was a good one this time. It was a good postman. Marina, how are you doing? And hey, Alden Summers, how are you? Liz, hey from the rainforest. What a magical brush. Thank you. Richard, hello everyone. Hello Liron. I hope you're all doing great. Thank you so much. Hey Pam, hope you're doing well. Marari says I'm studying plastic art and I'm suffering with watercolor, but seeing you helps me a lot. Yeah, it's such a bizarre medium. Honestly, the more I do it, the more I realize how weird watercolor is. There's so much that goes into it. On the one hand, but on the other hand, it's kind of simple. It's a very easy medium to paint with in some respects, I think, because you can just take a big piece of paper and go crazy and you'll get something. You really can't do that with oils because, I mean, you can, but it just takes longer, you know? So yeah, Ruth is back from her walk. Maybe she'll come say hi later, but don't count on it. You know that she hates us all. No, I'm kidding. She doesn't. But let's see here. So I'm gonna get that car. I think we're good. So we're gonna get the car here at the front. This is gonna be a fun one. So I'm gonna paint around that. And again, the larger you go, the more of an ability you have to be more granular with the details. Like right now, I'm not struggling, but I really have to watch out to get the shape right, you know. And if you work larger, it's just a little bit easier. But the other, you know, the other side of it is the challenge of actually painting. So there we go, and then the front, and it gets cut by the edge. And I'm gonna do some edge work here, so let's blend this just a bit, and same here, and then come back with some dark paint. I know it's a very small detail, you probably don't see too much of it from afar, but it's gonna make a big difference. And the bottom should be dark too, so like that. And then the windows here could be darker as well. And then the mirror could be darker, and we'll add some highlights for the door handles. That's a very common thing, door handles of cars. See how there's a highlight here, you can see it in the reference photo. So yeah, that's a very common occurrence. And what we are left with almost is the people. The one thing we can get rid of, quote unquote, here is this car in the background, and then we will be left with the people and the people only. The way I'm going to paint them is very simple, and this street light and some details, of course. The way I'm going to paint this is very simple, top to bottom, alla prima, and kind of work my way. Let's see here, connect the shapes, got it, indeed, my friend. Richard, have you adapted back to reality after your holiday, Liron? It always takes me a while to get back to a normal feeling. Yeah, same here. Took me a while, and we had some national holidays too, so there was another aspect of preparations and a party and a bunch of stuff. So we actually could not go back to routine due to these things. We actually had some stuff to do. So yeah, it took time, a bit of a strange time for me, as I shared with you, some changes, some things I'm rethinking or thinking for the first time finally. See, there's the edge of the sidewalk here. I want to edit, even though it's barely visible, like that. But yeah, now I'm pretty much, I feel like I'm back to my routine, pretty much. Not 100%, but pretty much. Now imagine, like, if I'm having even a slightly hard time here with some details, imagine how hard it would be if we work in color. Just one thing to kind of have in mind, right? This is why I'm a big fan of black and white, especially for demos where you have to talk and it's a little harder to concentrate. So, you know, let's do this here. And again, we're pretty much done. Hey, send you love from Ukraine. Thank you so much. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Is that Sophia? I don't know. Sorry. So let me know. I'm unfamiliar with the letters. What else? So I'd like to straighten out that car, and I know exactly how. The front car, just one small move, and we should be okay. So this should go here. It's a bit confusing, but now it rotated it a bit. The mirror, of course, should have some value on it. So there we go, like that. There's actually a shadow cast by it, and a bit of details here within the shadows, so we can do that if we're already working on it. But I think we'll for now, that's what we'll do. So I'm going to get started on the figures here. Now, the figures are actually quite simple. So let me show you. Should I switch to, let's switch to a smaller brush. This is a, yet again, slightly smaller brush. Are you painting in all natural light? Yeah, this time it's all natural light, yep. As it gets later, I have to turn on the lights, and then they're a little yellow. They're not the most neutral, because I prefer yellow lights, but still good. So, hair is dark, and I can actually do both figures simultaneously, I think, if I work hard. So let's try that. So the hair is going to be a little dark, but look at what happens here. As we get to the faces, it goes a little lighter, and that's exactly the effect I'm going to be after. Now she does have these sunglasses. Then I'm going to come back with some lighter paint, and I'm just going to help this paint move down. It's just going to move down with the new paint. And look at what I'm doing. I'm leaving some of the room for the highlights, of course. There's this nice little shadow here. And this corner is actually a little dark. And I'm just going to move with... Now, if I had done this... The shirt is a little dark, actually. If I had done this same thing with my hot press paper, I'll get an uneven result. I'm so not used to how it handles yet. So it's funny. And then her dress, same thing, kind of darker. But before it dries, let me come back with some of the lighter paint once again. Over everything, don't worry, we're still at the very initial stages. Over her arm, his arm, because it's lighter. His arm here as well. Can we get a thumb here? Kind of. Okay, good. Here as well. Continuing with some darker for and can you see this? Yeah, good. For the dress, it is darker. And his jeans, I'm going to continue this. His jeans go a little lighter, but not too much. Now, I did trace this one because I already drew it and I wanted to get something fast, but which is why it's as accurate as it can be, right? Feel free to draw it yourself if you prefer to do that, and we'll continue with the shadow. Like this, the arm. And at this point, I can connect it in just 1 second with the shadow of the curb or the sidewalk, whatever that is. Make it a little darker. And make this, while we're at it, let's make this a little. My lines are super wobbly today. I don't know what the deal is. Now her shoes, and his shoes are darker. His shoes too, right? Just ever so slightly. Kind of like this. There we go. So hopefully that makes for a clear impression. Now this version is a little larger than this one, just a little bit, so I can do a little more with it. Every small increase in size can be quite significant, actually. Now over to the other guy on the bike. So let's get it. Head, and I'm gonna keep. I really like the contrast, where the face is much darker than the building in the background, so that works in our favor. Now the shirt is white, so it's gonna be fairly light, even though it's against the light. Since the light comes from the right back, so we're gonna switch over to a bit of a lighter value here, and take care of the edges. So here's what I see. Due to the back's muscles, there's a bit of a soft edge around here in the way the back is structured. So you want to make sure you don't miss that. And while it's still a little wet, put the arms in. Again, we don't have any room for significant anatomical details or anything like that. We don't have room or time for that. We just put in but mostly room in the painting, right? We just put the bare minimum necessary to convey. And again, it's against the light, so you don't see much, which is a huge advantage in these scenes. You just follow the shapes and you'll be good. Now, let me switch over to a bit of no, you know what, I'm going to stay with a small brush. I just need more water and paint. Because now I am getting into some, let's say, more tricky details. Should I go darker on the jeans? Probably, or pants, whatever it is. Actually, it's shorts, whatever. This goes dark. I have to be quite careful at this stage with my lines. And you just get all the different components of the bike, you know. There's a lot going on. You just put it as if you're, again, treating it as one kind of shape, one wash. And then it connects to the tires, of course. And that's the beauty of these kinds of, you know, black and white scenes. They happen fast, right? You move your eyes for a second and there is an impression on paper, you know. So that's the advantage. And then the other one as well, being a little careful with this round shape. But again, no one will notice if it's not as accurate. Now I'm leaving the details inside the tires for now, because I'm going to use a thinner brush for those. Just make sure you get the center here, right? And then we have this kind of a thing here. And I don't know what that is, like part of the chain or something. I don't know nothing about bikes, so sorry about that. And then this shadow here, and then the actual person and the other tire. Now it looks like we may have gone a little too light on the bicycle, but that actually works out, at least the tires, because think about it, they're dynamic, they're in motion. So maybe you don't want to put too much emphasis right on the tires themselves. So maybe it's a good idea to keep things a little lighter. Just one thing to have in mind, right? I'm gonna go back to the chat in just 1 second. I just can never talk while doing this kind of a thing. So here we go. A bunch of details there. You know, whatever it takes to create the impression. Doesn't have to be perfect. Another leg that I kind of missed. I think that works. And then you could even just skip those details, but I'm gonna put them in because I have the pencil line, so they're kind of there in a way, those details. But let's add those, you know, I don't know what you'd call these things here. Using some thin lines with a rigger brush. Actually have a better rigger brush than this. I just dropped it on the floor. Don't feel like reaching over to it. That one's 11s and 2. And there we go. Like this. And I think honestly we're almost done here. I will take this opportunity to, again, we're going to take a break from the process. I do want to send you a link to Tracy Levinson's website, because I always recommend his brushes. I forgot to put a link, I think, in the description box. So be sure to check these out. Use my coupon code, you get like 20% off, something like that. A lot of you have been reporting to me that you're very happy with the brushes. So I just put the link in the chat, so be sure to check that out if you're interested, if you're looking for a new brush. That's definitely something you may want to check out. And now let's look at what you're saying. Luis, have you ever made a line and wash before? Yes, I have, especially, mostly when I was just getting started with watercolor, I did that. I followed Peter Schiller's tutorials, enjoyed them greatly, but I don't know, because I'm using so much of cold press paper, it's just not as good for these kinds of things, so didn't get to do that enough at all lately. And I think we will darken some of the buildings. You know what, I'm actually contemplating whether I should, because I really like the way it looks. Maybe we will darken them just a bit. I love that it's soft, you know. Maybe the street lamp will fix what's missing for me, and then we won't have to. Really, I'll have to think about it. Let me know what you think, if I should or should not. Because I could darken everything and still get quite a smooth result, as long as I don't touch this area here, this transitional area. I can start maybe from this building. Let me know. I have a bit of allergies this time of year. Now, are you painting an all-natural light? Yes, indeed. Pam, do you do thumbnail value studies before you paint the larger paintings? Not really. This was my thumbnail, quote-unquote, and I just painted it because I wanted to paint on hot press. Not really as a study at all. Just 1 second. Okay, Alessandro, regarding Hazel's question, how do you allow for the difference between natural and artificial light? How do you allow or account? You mean, how do I account for the difference? Honestly, I do my best. I know it's not ideal. Like, the conditions may not... Let me get this a little closer. I know the conditions may not be ideal. I just do my best to gauge... Oh, there's a moth here. How nice. To gauge the value and color. Sometimes I'll print photos, which makes it easier. But when you move away from me, I really... So I have... Oh, there. Go out. Go there. Go out. Nice moth. He actually exited the room. Unlike pigeons who just can't figure out where the window they walked in from is. I have no problem with... I'm not scared of cockroaches at all. But I don't like thin spiders with like big legs, long legs. And I don't really like moths too. Let's see here. So yeah, I kind of do my best and print a picture, and I'm so used to mixing that I can kind of figure out if I'm too warm or too cool. It's usually not a problem. Let me know if that's what you meant. Hopefully it is. If not, I can answer again. Pentacle, this actually is like a large value study indeed. Have you ever tried Fabriano paper? How was it? I didn't have that good of an experience with it, but it's okay. It's not the worst. Betty Ryan, you're an amazing artist. Love watching you bring the painting to life. Thank you. Really appreciate that. Richard Bennett, I'm experimenting with different paper at the moment. I bought some Bockingford extra rough. I kind of expected it to have a really toothy surface, but it's quite smooth. Oh, that's a surprise. If it's extra rough and it's still smooth, that's weird. But I heard good things, for sure. Pam says, my cat is intently watching the lesson on the TV screen. He loves it. Pam, did you send me a picture once on Instagram of you watching with the cat? I'm not sure if it was you. I don't remember, but it's so funny. Frickin' morons, now add a giant robot behind the building. Something like here, like a Godzilla or something like that. That could be funny. Jennifer, I'm relearning watercolor after 40 years. Glazing is using primarily transparent paint. Do you pay much attention with using transparent and semi-transparent paint? Not really, because even for semi-transparent paint, when you dilute them with water, they become more transparent. So it's not that important for me, honestly. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. To me, it doesn't matter as much. Dale says, hi, Liron, nice to see you. Nice to see you too, Dale. How are you doing? Richard, don't be touching the buildings. Okay. I may not. Louis says, oh boy, I hate spiders too, yeah. Liz Clyburn, you know what's funny? You know these small spiders that jump? That they kind of jump? These I don't mind as much. I could actually look at one walking past, I'll be okay. The ones that stay to the corner of the room, those are the ones that really scare me. I don't know why, it's completely irrational. The ones that, jump around, I'm okay with. They're smaller too, that's maybe has something to do with it. The ones that just creepily stay there, they have a tiny body and huge, long, thin legs. Dislike. Liz Clyburn, I have a 2.5 meter python who lives here. Great for keeping the mice population down, that's funny. But is it just, I mean, is it just chilling around your area, or is it in an aquarium? Liz also says, I love this as a value study, as a value lesson for cityscapes. I'm still trying to get the confidence to do. Yeah, if you just think about it as abstract shapes, usually in cityscapes you get the same pattern over and over again. You'll get the buildings or the skyline, and that usually ends around where they meet the ground. You get, suddenly it becomes light, and then you have some interesting details along these areas where you have some highlights, some cars you may paint around or may not. It's a very common pattern, and once you get it, you can just invent cityscapes very easily. It's not that hard, actually. Now, I do want to justify some of these highlights to add a very thin shadow under them, because I see this and it looks good. You see this in some, see? That looks much, much better, like cars in the distance. I like that a lot. Something like that. That looks really, really good. Wasn't expecting it to work this well, but, well, here we go. And that actually makes me even more want to not touch the building. So if still most people or some people don't want me to, I won't. But yeah, let me know. I'm still looking at the comments. So yeah, the street light. This is easy, like drawing. We're using quite thick paint. Let me switch over to, I'm gonna open up the chat again here on my end. Hello Time Pass, hello Lollipop. Hey Jackie, hey Liz again. Oh sorry, no, Liz Clyburn. I thought it's a new Liz. Sorry. Liron, can you use any watercolor like blue or light pink? If I can, of course I can. If you want me to do something specific with them, let me know. Let's see here. Do I want to darken? No, let's keep it like that. So I'm going to work on that street lamp thing. And this time I can allow myself a bit more time to leave some highlights where I see them. So, and if I can, right? So for example, there's no need to darken where this highlight here at the corner is. There's no need to darken that again. We'll keep that as a highlight. And then the actual light here should be quite light because it's transparent. And let me go a little darker. And we'll take it from there. You see I'm rotating the brush kind of with the movement. This is just technique. You just have to do it enough times and you'll feel more confident when you do that. But it is the easiest in terms of like wash and flow. You just draw one singular shape. Like that. I don't know if that's a thing, but I'm gonna put it. And then we're just gonna connect it to what we've had earlier. Now, even though this was done wet on dry, and this was done wet in wet, it will still, this still enhances it. Even if you're not necessarily noticing, like the fact that it's a little more blurry here actually does something. It does play a role in making the street lamp look better. So if you can accomplish these kinds of things in the previous stages where things are still wet, sometimes there's an added benefit to it, like here, right? Now I want to take you back for just 1 second to the previous attempt I did, because I just want to show you something. Like here I had much more room to work with the nuances, so I got more details on the sign, and I used a lot of opaque paint to bring back that sign that's here. Sorry, you can't see anything. That is here, right? But here I don't need that. Now I get direct sunlight. Let me close the blinds just a bit. We'll see what it looks like. I don't want it to be too dark, but we'll give it a few moments. Once the sun goes beyond that building, we're good. But in case you see in the larger version, let me do this. You know what? I'm gonna move here, and I'm gonna bring this over to. Come on. It grabs everything but the thing I actually want to grab. There we go. And I'm just gonna make it a little bigger so you can see the painting, right? So I had much more room to include more details and stuff like that, right? So even though it's not as flowy, it's a little awkward and kind of, you know, all over, I really like it. And the car here, the second car, not the frontmost red, the blue one, is one of my favorite parts of this painting. But in any case, let's get back here. I think it's okay. It's not too terrible of a light. Turned a bit blue, probably. So yeah, the only thing that's left is to add some details and highlights. Details on the building, highlights. Let me move this back here. There's a slight delay. It's so annoying. On my screen, not your screen. I see things delayed too. Should I turn on the light and just close? Let's do that. We're back to those kinds of streams where, let me turn on the light. It's gonna turn yellow. See, now it's super warm, but I think it's better like this, and I'm just gonna play around with the white balance. So give me 1 second, because I do want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Is the shadow too bad? That's okay. Let's see here. And I'll probably post this at some point, just the painting stages. You know what? The sun starts to disappear. I hate when that happens. I'll just open it. I don't care. We'll just do it. We'll work with natural light. I hate this yellow light. I'm perfectly okay painting with that yellow light. I just dislike filming with it. You know? We'll just work with what we've got. There's a blind here that makes it a little better. Sorry about that little tangent. Brittany, don't touch the buildings. Okay, will not touch the buildings. They look darker here. I don't know why they drive so light. I also love the softness of the buildings. Okay. By the way, you're in Tel Aviv, right? What's the weather like there? Hot. I'm sweating almost. It's really hot here and humid. It's always humid here in the summer. Patricia, will you be finishing the light fixture at the top of the lamppost? Yes, I think I just have, right? WL, regarding the natural artificial light, you can start a painting under artificial light, go to finish it in daylight, and okay. Yeah, so I don't think I have a good answer for that, because I just do it, kind of, and I'm okay. You know, maybe when I got started it was a problem, but I think maybe practicing color matching will help. Just practice matching the color, because I totally circumvent the yellow light. I paint with the yellow light. The day after, I look at the painting in daylight and it looks perfect still. I did not make mistakes, let's say, in that session, or vice versa. So that's not really a perfect answer, but hope that helps. Just color matching as much as you can. Lollipop, what kind of board are you using? And Pam sent you an email with a picture of the... Okay, so it was an email, yeah. I remember that. This is just a simple board, cost me about $6 or $8, something like that. Maybe it's too much, now that I think about it. From an art store. They do sell these. They're not meant for painting. They're meant for something completely else. And if you look for a board specifically for painting, everything is terrible. So it's funny how sometimes the materials that aren't meant for the job just do a better job, honestly. So that's the thing. I've been using these for years now. This one, I have one that's double the size for larger pieces. And for really large stuff, I just tape it on the table. But yeah. I think I will scan this one before the live stream ends and show you a properly scanned result. So let's move towards starting to hit those last stages of the painting, which is going to be highlights. I think it's going to be highlights and some details. So let's start with some windows on the buildings. So something interesting happens here. We have these row of windows, but their tops are catching the light to some extent. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to place like half a window here. I actually want these to be not as much of a dry brush and more of a lighter thing. Let's see. Not too light. Something like this. That's half a window. And you can also draw on top of it if you need help, like with perspective. So I'm just going to do this and then this. So it should be good. So that's half a window. And then that's kind of another half a window. Another one. Hope that makes sense. Then here I'm going to put longer ones. And let's try putting some dark kind of paint onto them. I really don't want to go too dark here, because the buildings themselves aren't too dark. So that's something to have in mind. The layer underneath kind of dictates how dark we'll go. And these are not meant to be like an important fixture, so I'm trying to keep them blended, as you can see. More than usual, actually. Kind of hint at them and that's it. This is a really nice building, so sort of thinner windows. That's it. So just to give you a few things to maybe think, maybe there's something there. Now I do see a street light on the other side. It looks kind of nice, a bit more modern. Let's see if we can get that in. And you see I'm using a broken line just to make sure I don't do too much there. Nothing catches our attention too strongly. And goes out like this, and then I'm gonna add a highlight later on. Let's do this kind of a thing. Just one, like a dark building facade. And I think we're good. That's everything. So you see what happens is this kind of a thing here where you go from the street lamp onto the building's details, and then it kind of disappears, honestly. And then we can start adding some highlights on top of that. We will use again the designer's gouache, which John sent me. Thank you so much for that. We're gonna use it quite gently. I should probably bring a toothpick and mix it a bit. Well, give me just 1 second. I'll be back. Sorry about that. Here we go, toothpick. We're gonna mix the content of the tube. It happens to all brands, that's okay. Sometimes some of the materials separate or there's a bubble. You can see here, I'm gonna pop. And let's do this, mix, mix, mix. And you can even make use of the paint on the toothpick. Either just put it on something or just really small details. Maybe let's try using the toothpick for the tiny details and see if that works. So I see a few, okay, that's gonna drip, that's not good. We don't want that. If can I get this here? See? That's a nice way of getting it. Yeah, I'm not gonna use it for big details, but for small details like this sign here would work nicely. Yeah, that's it. That's not gonna work anymore. So just use the brush normally. Actually, let me just reach for the. Where's my better brush? I just dropped it on the floor. The better, thinner one, or maybe it's here. Yeah, okay, that's better. Much better. Sorry for being all over the place. Let's see. So this is the small brown synthetic Lebanese brush. Another one I really like. And we'll do this. So I see a few tiny highlights here of some signs or something catching the light, something here. Or we had this stop sign or whatever that is. Just small hints indicating, oh, there's something here like a city and it's alive and things happen. Awning, small kind of architectural details that catch the light. See, kind of like this here and there. Now the one of the more important parts is this window again. So let me try and just put in, you see, because it kind of meets the sky in a way. And then a slightly lighter white here. And I think another one, and that's it. So it feels maybe like the window's catching the light. I get a lot of bubbles now. I don't know why. And then one of the most important highlights is right here. And right here. And there are a few here. getting rid of some of the bubbles. Let me mix this again. There we go. I don't know why it feels more liquid than usual, because I used it quite a few times and it wasn't that liquid. And then we have some scaffoldings here. They're gonna be nice. And we have this, once again, another awning. And of course these beautiful diagonal shapes here. Like that. And a bit of this here around that awning. And when we move down here, we have also small touches and indications. There's actually a bit of light on her sunglasses, kind of catching the light. That's pretty much it. Nothing much here, I think. What else? Oh yeah, the bike. That's a nice little effect here. Don't necessarily want to overdo it, but for where it feels right, you can definitely add some of these. Oh yeah, here, that's what I missed. I really wanted to get. Every time there's a shift in kind of the direction, this kind of a thing happens. And it looks really, really neat. There are a few of these here as well. One here too. Let's get a bit of a thicker white here. And let me take a moment's break and look at it on my screen and see kind of where we're at. We'll figure it out and where we want to continue. Yeah, so this looks decently nice, I think. It's a good study in black and white. There are some details on the car I could add, maybe with the white, but actually I like the way it looks. Everything wouldn't change too much. I can use a bit of that gouache that dropped here to add a mirror. There we go. Just a nice little mirror. But yeah, I think this works. So I'm tempted to sign this and remove the tape and scan it and show it to you. Let's give it a few more seconds. I'm gonna look at some other of your messages and then we'll, ouch, that hurt. And then we'll continue. Let's see. White Rosa, I'm pretty happy with the result. Can't believe it, the process was so sketchy. Cynthia, good morning. Liron from Madison, Wisconsin. Brittany, Cynthia from, oh, sorry. So it's Cynthia, I'm from Madison, Wisconsin. Cool. Liz says, hi, good night, Cynthia. You're also from the, oh no, you're not. Lynn Jensen, good morning from Ohio. Beautiful, thank you so much. Yeah, so we're good, I think. Let's sign this and remove the tape. Let me scan this one more time just to figure out if I'm missing something I want to add, because I feel like I really like this. I don't know. Like, I could add the sign on this thing, but I don't think it'll play any role here, honestly. I really like this. You know what I'll do? I know what I'll do. One thing I forgot. That's actually important. I do want to make the guy's shirt a little lighter, actually. So let's do a bit of that, okay? So, guy on the bicycle. His shirt should be quite light. Which means I'm probably gonna add quite a big highlight there. At the, well, not even risk, it's for sure we'll lose some of that smooth transition from earlier, but that's a price I'm willing to pay in order to make him pop a little more. So let's see what the shape is. So it actually starts from the shoulder and then goes from here a little better, I think. This actually dips here like that. Let's make this on the shoulder a little stronger. I feel like I still didn't 100% mix the gouache well. And there are a few even smaller details I want to get. Let me fall back on some white gel pen just for that, because there are a few very small details I don't think I'll manage to do even with a smaller brush. So for his arm, see this? Right here. And on her arm, well, I actually successfully left that like this. Just need a few very small ones. This is good. There's a bit of a highlight here actually next to the dark shape. Well, that's pretty much it. I don't want to overdo it, so you kind of, I think that works. I think that looks good. Let me sign this. Sign this off, scan it for you, and you know, whenever you finish a painting, you can even remove the tape, you know, sign it, whatever. You can always pick it back up and do some improvements. It's really not an issue. In fact, while I scan it, I'm going to put a different painting here to show you. I have a really nice one you'll like, I think, from today. You probably saw it on Instagram. I can actually just bring it up on the screen. Should I give it like a bit of a hair dryer treatment? Just a bit. Let's do just a bit. Done. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the tape. Don't worry, I'm gonna show you. I'm gonna bring it back to the screen. There we go. Nice borders. I think we may have some paint leak here. Let's see. Hope not, but if there's actually ways of, oh yeah, nothing's too serious. Like this little dot here you can barely see. There are ways to remove that. And we're good. So there we go. And it's fun maybe to compare the hot press and cold press, you know. Maybe it's best to do it this way because this one's smaller. So just an interesting thing seeing the variation. I like both in their own kind of way. I like that this is lighter, actually. It's a good thing we didn't go darker. Yeah, let me put this to scan. Don't worry, I can talk to you while it scans. And I'll also show you the painting I finished today, and I'm going to show you on Saturday how to paint this. So I worked on something a little more detailed and a little more realistic. That's going to be a fun one. Let's see here. I'm going to scan it for grayscale. I don't need color here, obviously. And let's see what it looks like. But in the meantime, yeah. So this is something I worked on today. I wanted to, you know, I love loose impressionistic work the most, but once in a while I'll get this craving to do something realistic. And then I have to kind of scratch that edge. So this was that painting here. And if I just go a few steps back, you can barely tell what it is probably, but it looks quite realistic. You'll see it on Saturday's video. I'll show you step by step. We'll paint the whole thing. But yeah, very happy with this one. Smooth hot press paper. No texture. Okay, finished scanning. Let me get all of this out the way. Let's see what we got here. And in the meantime, I'll look at your chats here. I don't know why. I pushed the play button and my phone just decides to turn off. Thank you, Lynn. And thank you, Pam. It's been a while. Love your realistic boat paintings. Thank you so much, David. I hope you're doing well too. Okay, so yeah, I think you're gonna really like this one. It looks darn good. So let me save it in the right folder. Here we go. Nothing beats scans unless your scanner is kind of like mine and it doesn't like with the blue color. It kind of prefers not to. Oh, where did I put it? I saved it in the wrong place. Of course I have. Wait, I'm gonna find it because I kind of know where it may be. Oh man. Oh man. Why would it save it all the way here? I don't know. Okie doke. Where is it now? There we go. Sorry for being super slow here. I'm gonna call it final in all caps. Let's crop it without the useless edges of the scanner. You're gonna like this. I think it's worth the wait. I think. And then let's do tools, adjust size, just make it a little smaller and more bearable. There we go. And I'm gonna bring it in. Are you ready? Ooh, that's terrible light. But it doesn't matter because I'm bringing in an image. So you'll see the image. Hello, by Alexander. How are you doing? Isabella, I love the process of taking off the tape. Yeah, that's a fun part indeed. Final. There we go. Okay, so tell me if it was worth it. I think it was worth it, seeing it scanned. There we go. Ignore my face, my sunlit face. So I think this looks really, really good. I like that a lot. One thing I would change is just move everything up so that there's more on the ground and less in the sky. But I have to say, this part right here, where it gets dark from the asphalt, that's a perfect transition. I love that. Like right at the bottom. Let's see here. Let's see what you're saying. Get some messages. I don't need this camera anymore, actually. Let's move it. Yeah, okay. White Rose, I'm pretty happy with my results. Can't believe it. The process was so sketchy. Oh, yeah, it's okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, I remember the message from earlier, and send it to me. I'm curious to see it, or tag me on Instagram. Cynthia Z, good morning from us. Oh yeah, we've been through that. I forgot. Liz, do you not like cats? Or is it so? Ruth is a. Oh, you mean here in the picture, in the reference photo? Yeah, it's just I didn't know how to fit it in. It's so much on the edge of the scene that I was like, I'm just gonna leave it out. Maybe I'll do a bigger attempt and then I'll bring everything to the right. But I was that's a good question. I was struggling with the couple and then the guy on the bicycle, and I couldn't figure out like how I want to squeeze everything together to manage to fit in the dog as well. I'm more of a dog person. I had a cat once. I was living with a roommate, and the cat ended up going to her. It sounds grim, like something happened. No, it's good. It ended up moving to her parents' place with a lot of other cats in a yard, and some much nicer than. Sorry, this shakes a lot. Much nicer than the city, honestly. Just because I moved out, and I don't know why she couldn't keep it. But it was like a small kitten and a street cat, right? That she picked up. His name was Arthur, and he was a nightmare. Every time I'd leave my room, he'd jump on my ankle and start biting. It was annoying, but yeah. So more of a dog person, I guess. But I do like cats. Cats are super cute. I do think so. I think when I was younger, I thought of cats as being cuter than dogs. But now that I have a dog, I think more of dogs being cuter. Thank you, John. Louis, are you there? Okay, we answered that. Petstone, how do you get your drawing down so accurate? So yeah, so I said this in particular, I actually traced it. But this one, I don't remember. Okay, so if I want to get a really, really accurate result and just practice painting, I trace, right? But if I have to say, most of my paintings I don't think are traced. Most of them are drawn. And I have plenty of tutorials where I draw the thing from start to finish. But yes, sometimes I'm too lazy. If I can get it more accurately and faster, I just trace. That happens a lot. But yeah. But I have some tutorials on drawing. Generally speaking, if you want to improve your drawing skills, there's of course a way to do that. Should the shadows under the people be darker? Probably a bit, yeah, I saw that too, but you know what, I like the way it looks, so I'm gonna keep it for now. The thing is, even though they may need to be darker, the guy on the bicycle is like a very nice focal point, and then they're secondary. So if I make the shadow darker, it may kind of it may create a stronger gravity field around them and pull a little too much there. And I want, because they're so close to and they're kind of equal distance, that's a nice way of separating the two with the lower contrast. So that's kind of I think better. Jan says, beautiful result, Liron. I really love this process, especially for cityscapes. Thank you. Nancy G, love the painting. Great job conveying the sunlight in this scene. Love that. Yeah, and one important thing to have in mind is when you see the buildings, right, the more you can practice getting them in one go, not too many, like you don't have to do tons of glazes, and everything is connected physically. The shape is connected, like especially in this spot right here behind. You see there are the light buildings and then the dark one, but it's still, there's flow between the two areas, right? That's really better if you can do that, especially for cityscapes that are a little big and maybe a little monumental. By the way, one thing I would improve about this is I'd actually put a much, let me move this and I'll show you. I would have put a much, I think it'll be nicer this way. Wait, this way. So I think I would, if I repaint this, I'd put here a taller building that blocks the entire, this side, so that it's more of an kind of an L shape, rather than just a bunch of buildings in the center. Feels too balanced, you know, now that I think about it. That's probably what I would do with another iteration, I guess. That would look better now that I think about it. Block off the entire, like, right side of the painting. Create an L structure. Should have thought of that, actually. Disappointed that I didn't, but maybe for next time. It's good that we talk about it. And thank you, Nancy. Thank you so much. Charlotte, hey from Rotterdam. Nice to catch a bit of the process. The white highlights really do pop even though they are so subtle. Just bought some white gouache to try it. Oh yeah, cool. And by the way, I forgot to mention, so I'm working on building a page that shows all of the tools and art supplies I'm using. So that's going to be available soon, and I'll be able to send it to you. Just put a link or something like that, and then if you buy through me, even if you don't buy the thing in the link but something else, I get a commission, so that's pretty nice. So if you go through my Amazon link and you buy like a TV, I still get the commission, which is funny. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Thank you, David. So I hope you like the realistic boat. I like that one a lot. Thank you, Lynn. Pam Lake, wow, these boats and water can't wait for Saturday. Yeah, it's gonna come soon. Thank you, Tanya Diane. How are you doing? Thank you, Liz. Thank you, Mark. Just in time to catch the end. Yep. Scroll back and you can see everything. Isabella, I love the process of taking the tape off. Indeed, that's fun. Hey, Alexander, again. Thank you so much, John. Thank you, Hazel. Thank you once again, Liz. Brittany, do you have recommendations for good cold press paper brand for beginners? I think Saunders Waterford is the best in my opinion. Arch, close, probably as good though, unless you really pay attention to the nuances. I think that would be the best. It's not really cheap, but that's like the main expense, I think. So yeah, that will be my favorite. I have only the dingoes that get down the mountain. Funny. Jennifer, thank you so much. Jackie, thank you. Brittany, how would you trace if watercolor paper is generally thicker? Sorry, oh yeah, that's a good question. So what I do is, it's funny, I have a couple of ways to trace. I actually talk about it in the Watercolor Realism course, because I go there in depth in how to draw accurately without knowing how to draw. But basically what I do is I turn up the brightness of my Mac, this computer I'm right now putting my hand on, turn on the brightness all the way, and then I put my watercolor paper on the screen with the picture under it, and I just trace like that. Or you can put it on a window, but I prefer the Mac, and I'll sometimes just tape it over the screen so that it doesn't move and trace real fast, because the light of the screen is enough to get it. So yeah, no, that's actually a good question. Some people use tracing paper. I'm not too familiar with how it works, but I do know it transfers, like transfer paper. You can put it on the watercolor paper and draw on it, and it will transfer down to the watercolor paper. So you can put a photo over it and go over that, I think. Kind of like a copy paper. But I never done it myself, so I don't know exactly in details how it works. Jackie Foxy, can I use for practice worse paper, like school type? Will the colors and brush fix the handicap, or is the paper crucial? Yes, I think it is crucial. Definitely not like a printer paper that it's just barely possible to paint on. If you do want a very cheap paper, I would go to the art store and find the cheapest one you can find that's supposedly meant for watercolor. Even if it's not 100% cotton, even if it's, you know, some kind of a weird pulp paper, even if the quality isn't as good, at least it's meant for watercolor. So even if it's gonna like printer paper is impossible to work with. It's way too thin, in my experience. But yeah, I hope that helps. Mark, thank you. Hazel, okay, cool. I see that now. That answered my question. Laura, another wonderful live stream, Liron. Thank you. I love the boats. Looking forward to Saturday. Yeah, same here. I still need to edit the video and narrate, and so there's a lot of work to be done yet. Patricia, I like your boats. Also, hope to join you on Saturday to paint them. I painted some lobster boats on mooring in the harbor here last summer. Oh, that's cool. That sounds like a nice thing. Should go down to the port and paint. Great views there. Yeah, sure. Send it to me. And I'm sorry. I know I've been super slow, everyone, at responding to emails. My bad. Brittany says thank you so much for the advice. Yeah, and I'm happy I could help. If you have a couple of kind of final questions before we wrap up, feel free to ask them now. Overall, I'm quite pleased with this one. Let's put on the screen the hot press version as well, because I have it, so I can share it, and maybe we can do a little side by side. And yeah, honestly, I'm trying to get used to like a new kind of schedule. The things, putting some focus on different things, so requires a bit more. I'm trying to maintain more of my awareness, funny thing to say, on a daily basis, like to think, is what I'm doing effective? Is it a good use of my time? All sorts of things like that are just important to, you know, not take everything for granted. So here is the hot press. I'm gonna put myself smack dab in the middle. So here's one, and let me make a bit more room for myself. And by the way, thank you so much for everyone who's here. If you can drop a like on the video, that's huge help, and I really appreciate you being here and watching. This is honestly, like, the live streams are the most fun thing I do, I think. Like demoing like this, it's so much more fun, so much more interactive. So we can see the difference. The texture does make a difference in the result. I think with hot press paper you can get a bit more of a smooth feeling, but the thing is, look at, for example, look at the woman's legs here. Can you see how there's this, and I don't think it's the pencil. I think there's this slightly darker shape around some of the lighter shapes. That's just because, you know, the hot press paper just works differently. There's a bit more of that border, dark border around the shapes. You can actually see it really well here. Let me show you. So I don't know if you can see it. Okay. Right next to the corner of the screen, like, let me show you. Is it this corner? This corner? Which corner is it? This corner. This corner of the screen. You see the part of the building, there's this thin, I can actually show you here. Why am I working so hard? Right here. Okay, look at it in the photo. Can you see? Right here. There's a thick, kind of darker paint border there. Now, I would assume that it's not there on the version we just painted. Let's check. Let's zoom in. So it's these kinds of weird, you see it's not there. None of it is there, I think. It's these kinds of weird things, and sorry you can't see my face. It's these kinds of weird things that initially put me off of hot press paper, but there is some magic to it, and I wonder if there's something I can do to minimize that. It's not the end of the world, honestly. It's not a deal breaker. It still looks really good, I think. But yeah, it's just, yeah, whatever. I like the way the buildings turned out here better, actually. Much better. Especially that sense of depth from the buildings at the back, that I was brave enough to do them as light. I actually really like that. Yeah. So yeah, I think we can wrap it up. Thank you so much once again for watching. I really appreciate it. Before we go, if you can again take a moment and drop a like on this vid, It really helps more people find it out. If you have any further questions, ask them in a comment below, and I'll hopefully get to it in the next couple of days. I reply to a lot of YouTube comments today specifically. I really try to do that every couple of days to go in, and if there's nothing to reply, so I'm changing my operation mode kind of to, I'm not gonna now force myself to reply to every comment, but at least I'll indicate that I saw it. I'll drop like a heart or something like that, so you can see that I saw it. Because I do read a lot of comments, even when I'm not responding. More often than not, I probably read your comment, it just didn't respond. So yeah, so about that, thank you so much. Two things. One, if you want to learn how to paint loose watercolor, or even slightly realistic watercolor, but with a loose approach, with a fun approach, I would recommend you check out the watercolor, the frustration-free watercolor course. The link is in the description box as always. Now, if you're ready to tackle more of realistic things, kind of like this scene, this is quite a realistic rendition of this scene, then you want to check out the Watercolor Realism course, relatively new one. The link is going to be in the description box as well. A lot of you have joined, so I'm super grateful for that. Really appreciate everyone who joined the course, and I've been getting some really good feedback so far. It really breaks down all the elements for creating realism, and it's just, I think, one of the best guides out there. It really breaks down values and shapes and edges, which I don't talk enough about and no one talks enough about, and how to recreate them. There are some very useful exercises there that I think will really help you to just be able to paint pretty much anything realistically, and I'm gonna touch on it on Saturday's video as well. Realism is more about hard work and really paying attention rather than skill. I know it's a bit weird to say that, but you'll really see it with Saturday's process. It's not the most perfect painting. Like I think I have better realistic paintings, but it just goes to show like you can do so much, not wrong, but in such a robotic way and still get a good result. Now, of course, the ultimate goal isn't to be a robot who paints, who prints paintings exactly as they are, right? You want to enjoy it. You want to bring your own to the process. The best way to do that is to master both painting freely and loosely, and doing something that's a little more realistic in a way, and kind of works more methodically. Okay, so be sure to check those out. One last thing, Patreon. If you want to support me just by like a monthly donation, or you want to get your paintings critiqued by me, check out the Patreon. Link in the description box. If it's not there, you can search my name in Patreon, you'll find it. But that's more, most of it is just if you want to do like a $1 a month or $5 a month, and it adds up and it helps. It's something I didn't market as much in the past, but like people sometimes ask about it, so yeah. But in any case, time to wrap it up. Is there a question here? This was my first live session with you. Oh, that's super cool. Barbara Waldman. This was my first live session with you. I enjoyed it so much. You're a very wonderful artist and teacher. Oh, thank you. Is this the first video also, or just the first live session? Let me know, Barbara. I'm curious. But thank you so much. Jan says, your watercolor courses are really great. Thank you. Thank you so much for getting them. Laura, I always found tracing with carbon paper. Yeah, it makes the lines too dark. Yeah, that's the thing, and thick sometimes too, right? I've found by printing the reference, coloring the back completely with a soft 9B carbon crayon, set it on my watercolor paper and trace. Oh, that's an interesting idea. That's a really interesting idea. Jackie Fox, is it better to start big or small? I was surprised by the size of his book, which is what, small? I'm not sure. He paints big too, right? I think small is more manageable for getting started. I would recommend small, but I would not recommend staying in your pattern and not breaking it. So after a while, try increasing the size, because you'll learn new things about technique that way, and you can make more detailed works that way. So I see small paintings as either as training wheels, an optional final thing too. So training wheels, because it's much easier to paint, but then you can dump it and go for larger pieces, or you can stay with that if you enjoy it more, because it's just fun, you know. Sometimes it's fun to produce something small but great, rather than something big and kind of what's the word? Clumsy. Yeah. Thank you, Liz. My first live. Okay. Thank you. What type of pencil did you trace with? So I actually use this simple Pilot mechanical pencil. Nothing special. This is a 0.5. I don't like the 0.7. I need the thin 0.5, works better for me. Stefania arrived late. Okay, sorry about that, but you can catch the rest later on. Let's launch a printer paper challenge. Oh, it's gonna be a nightmare, but interesting. Yeah, okay. So thank you so much. I'm gonna truly wrap it up this time, and I will see you on Saturday's video. Until then, take care and keep creating, and know that I really appreciate everything you do and the videos you watch and the comments and the likes and everything. Thank you so much. We'll talk soon.